Hi, my name is Gerhard Schwartner, and welcome to our LinkedIn Livecast. We have a very special guest today, Danny Tomsett. He is the CEO of Unique, and he's joining us from New Zealand. Welcome, Danny.
Hey, God, great to meet you. And I'm actually in Austin, Texas, where I'm based, but the accent's from New Zealand. So we
Oh,
gave
the accent. Your company headquarters is in Auckland, right?
in Austin, in Texas, and we have research and development out of Auckland, New Zealand.
Auckland. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I want to congratulate you because you are doing something that I really love doing when I was doing sales training. I used simulations with salespeople where I put them on video and had them rehearse very specific skills like handling objections or the opening or questioning or closing the sale. And now you have advanced that dramatically by using AI simulation. So tell us about that. How did you create that solution?
Yeah, well, this solution, no doubt, is came from an experience of pain that I think many sales leaders have had. And in my own experience, I would sit in these meetings and I could tell you story after story, as I'm sure you can, where you're sitting listening to what's been said. I mean, I've heard everything from, what we're bringing today is bleeding edge, not leading edge, or, getting calls from a customer saying that basically one of my reps monologued for about 45 minutes with a key account. And you start just thinking, wow, we're investing all this time and money in training and role play, but we're sprinkling across the awareness of what's really going on. And there must be a way that we can capture better data on what people are doing, our sales reps in the field, talking with customers. How are they handling objections? Are they following the training and the processes? And it's just super time consuming to do that face to face. It's really hard. And every sales leader feels this tension because you got numbers to hit. So we took the digital human technology that we'd been building for a number of years, and we just started deploying it in its own role play and putting it in front of our reps. And it was incredible, the usage, the insights, and then we were like, we're onto something here. So that's how it came about.
So walk me through the experience that a salesperson goes through when they do the simulation with your tool. How do they prepare? How does it work? How does it get analyzed? How do they get feedback? And how do they grow from that?
Great. So one of the things we wanted to do was ensure it wasn't just practice. Practice is good, but the feedback and coaching is equally as valuable. And so when a rep logs in, they'll be able to see various simulations, and the sales leader or sales enablement can determine what are the right simulations for that role and that rep and what they're going into. It could be that they're new and they've got a lot of onboarding. It could be that there's new products launched. It's a whole new strategy. Anything that could determine a vertical, a customer, a situation, a sales process is turned into a simulation. That simulation is clearly articulated to the salesperson as they look at what are the goals, what do they need to be doing, what should they be focused on, and what does success look like, right? And what should they be doing in the practice? So they then go into that and they talk to a digital human, just like you and I are talking now. So they're able to have an interaction back and forward and run through what feels like a very natural and normal conversation. On the exit of that conversation, it's then analyzed and it actually gives them feedback afterwards. So there could be areas like discovery. How good were you at asking good discovery questions? It could be things like emotional connection. How good were you at creating rapport? Product knowledge. You got a lot of technical questions in there. How well did you do with the technical questions? And even value proposition, closing techniques. All these things can be tailored in the simulation, and giving feedback for the salesperson to do it once, do it again, keep going until they feel really confident. And guess what? They practice on this simulation before customers, so they don't burn the pipeline, practicing on customers, eventually figuring out how to get there. So that's what they would experience.
Danny, what is your best practice for the length of the role play? How long should it be ideally, and what is too long, what's too short?
Yeah, I think we're working that out. I think every business is different. Some of the businesses we work with, they even have very long sales cycles. So they're breaking simulations down into like the stages across that customer journey and that sales journey. Some might be far more transactional. It could be a one and done meeting. So it's about how do you, really move a customer through qualification, discovery, and then going through into a close. So this will vary based on the business and what they're doing. I think what's important is it's flexible around what you need to do. And, for me as a sales leader as well, across my own organization, I'm always thinking about, not just simulations with a customer. Like the other day, I created one just because I wanted to hone in on closing techniques. So I wanted to create a simulation where you'd already progressed the customer to this point. Now I just want you to practice how do you move that through trial close techniques and really bring that deal to fruition. So that's I guess a long answer to your question, but it is very flexible.
Well, I remember from my experience when there was sort of an optimum time frame when salespeople, let's say, you want to ask discovery questions, and you could ask 20 questions, but we found that shorter role plays in that particular instance was more important and was more conducive to learning than the longer role plays. Is that the case with your experience?
I think focus is key. I think what you're touching on is instead of trying to create one big simulation that, like really focusing in around the techniques,
Yep.
and it gives you the ability to, I think, be more deliberate in the simulation as well of what kind of, you can throw a few Easter eggs in there, like things that might throw someone off. So it's quite fun as well. And I agree, though, focus is really important. I think also equally important, sales leaders, the information that they then get is key because, too much of our time as sales leaders is, I think, a little bit more shotgun versus sniper rifle, right? Like we know exactly the weak points that our teams are struggling with. We can really laser sight in on training around that and focus on those areas. So that data is also really valuable.
So Danny, share with me, what does the feedback look like? So the salesperson did the role play. What confronts them on the screen? What is revealed, and how does that motivate that feedback? How does that motivate them to do better?
Well, one of the key things that we wanted to bring into a product like this was it wasn't just criticism. I think one of the hardest things about role play, if you just take about the traditional role play that you and I have done probably for a lot of our career, there's that judgment, there's the awkwardness of it all, and also the feedback tends to go, these things, you really need to focus on. And so we wanted to shift this to being more of practice where you've got a coach that's encouraging you as much as, pointing out areas and tips that you could really improve in. So when you look at the feedback, it will break it into different areas. There are areas that are focused purely around conversational techniques. So this will be like, are you talking more than the customer? Are you talking very quickly like I do? This is one area I score lower on. I talk too quickly. And then my accent probably doesn't help as well. And so these things are all in the conversational area. You've then got areas that relate to the goals. These are the things that, the business has created a scenario because they are particularly rubric focused measurement areas that are important to success. It's a playbook that's been created for success, and we need to know salespeople know how to function in that playbook. And that will be things like objection handling, product knowledge, things like that. And it will tell you what you did well. And here's some examples of what you really did well. Do that again. That's super good answer for that objection, right? And here's the areas that we think you could have, and so discovery, right? You asked a few good questions, but when they answered this, you had a really great opportunity to really push in on that pain point and elevate it. So next time, try to do these things.
Yeah,
And so
Danny,
that's working out.
I think we think alike because I developed a formula where I ask salespeople to watch the video role play that just happened. And I said, I don't want criticism because it doesn't help anybody, but answer two questions. Number one, what was good and why? And number two, what can be improved and how? So that we got the best practices from the entire group. And but now you have the magic of AI, and AI can serve it up to you so that you know exactly what the alternatives are to what you have just done.
Yeah, 100%. This is why I love it, because people can also do this without the judgment, without the time pressures as well of needing your sales leaders or involving other peers. You can do this, in your own office, living room, whatever that looks like, which I think is really important.
Yeah, and there's the second part of what's unique about Unique, which is coaching. Uh, Tell us about that. How can sales leaders use your tool to coach salespeople in real time and on the job and all the time?
Well, I think in many ways I've kind of touched on this too, because part of what we've tried to do as well is create a way that you can, in a snapshot, see what's going on through the reports. So that's things like tracking progress and graphs, but also like percentages. So we can kind of see at any area on a numeric value how someone's really going, based on the criteria of measurement that you've put in place. And the thing that I think is important for coaching and supporting sales leaders is helping them really narrow in on what is the most important area to help a sales rep really go from where they are today to a high performer. In my experience running multiple companies, you tend to have 20% high performers and 80% trying to get there. And you've got some attrition at the bottom somewhere around here too. And so, I think a tool like this for the high performers, I think there's some value, but for those in that middle gap, this is the tool, because I think this really enables sales leaders to understand what is the key areas to focus on in training to take them from here into that high performing group.
Right.
And what we're already seeing across some of the early usage of this product is that's exactly what's happening. We're pulling people from here into high performing and hitting targets, and that's ultimately the success we're looking for with a product.
Danny, I think there's another very important discovery that people are making when they engage in simulations, which is a humbling experience that they realize they're not as good as they think they are.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time using this product too. So even when I think I've got some of these things nailed, then I look at the coaching that comes through and I'm like, oh, that would be so much better if I did that. That's a great point. So
Yeah.
it really does make you think. I mean,
So-
the idea is keeping it simple and easy. And accessible means you do it more. And when you do it more, you actually realize how much just being prepared and thinking about things in advance makes you so much better.
Are you using it sometimes yourself when you prepare for a speech?
I don't know for speeches, but you know what? I actually had a meeting with an investor. And so I thought I'd try create a quick simulation of what it would look like to pitch to an investor. And how do I kind of put in what I knew about this investor as well, their other investments, the kind of companies, and just kind of create a simulation that just tested my thinking and how ready I was. I found that really valuable. So yeah, you can use it for areas outside of probably traditional sales thinking, which is good.
I think the biggest benefit is that AI can give you a quicker, broader perspective and deeper insight into a topic. And it can sharpen your critical thinking as well.
Yeah. I think that we live in a very exciting time because, this is a great way that AI could be leveraged inside an organization. It's very low risk when you think about it, right? Like today, I think training is a challenge. Training is a challenge because if I take even the feedback from my own team before we were doing this, it's a lot of, videos, it's documentation. We're sending them to, the internal wiki and all these types of ways that people don't always learn well through. And they're trying to just navigate what they need to do for their manager, as opposed to genuinely enjoying the learning experience and benefiting from that. And I think this is what the disruption that we're going to see with AI is: learning, not just in what we're talking about sales, learning in even high ed and other areas of education is going to shift, because I think practice, role play, simulations just have such a big impact. The way that we do learn.
I think there are really three dimensions to learning. One is learning new techniques, like you're practicing new closes or practicing handling objections in simulations. The second thing is relearning what you already know, but you no longer use. And when you do simulations, you rediscover your own best practices. But I think there's a third dimension to learning, which is unlearning the things that you habitually do and shouldn't do, but nobody slaps your hand, so to speak, and nobody reminds you. But AI is smart. It, like my handicap is that I use certain filler words that I shouldn't use. And when I listened to myself and I thought, wow, why do you stop? Why do you use a filler word? Just pause and move on.
Yes. It's actually, filler words are one of the areas we measure as well. I'm guilty of that. You can pick it up even in this conversation. A lot of R's. I'm an R guy. I don't know if that comes from New Zealand or not, but
right. Yeah. So on May 7th, you were conducting a webinar with Selling Power at 1 p.m. And the title is Perfect Your Pitch, Win More Deals with Digital Human Role Play. So tell us why everybody needs that.
Well, I think we've probably made a pretty good case by now. Yeah, but look, I think as any great leader should be thinking about, how do you improve the performance of your teams and really take that to new levels, new heights. And doing the same things the same way is likely not going to get you there. It will have a ceiling, and most companies have hit that ceiling. So why this is important is, I think we're going to break the ceiling. I think this is a new approach that really amplifies the good work you've already done. It's not that the foundational sales playbook, the training, the work that you've already put in place isn't valuable. It's how do we now ensure that people can really absorb that, practice it, use it, and execute it in the way that you desire it as a sales leader. And I think this is the key to what we're offering and wanting to talk about in that webinar.
I want to add two more quick ideas. One is never practice a new approach with new customers. You want to do it in the unique simulation room. And secondly is there is a cost associated to training, and you pay either way. You don't get any ROI from no training. You get lost sales. And if you do training, it costs you, but you get better ROI because it helps boost the performance of every salesperson.
Totally right. There's no sports team that's great without practice and training, right? Like, so why we would expect workplace that to be
I think there's one more aspect that we haven't talked about, Danny, which is that over time, if a company uses Unique for, let's say, a year, you probably have a database with 5 million words of wisdom that is created by your sales team that you can use to develop new content.
Yeah, this is I think one of the powerful parts of AI is that you can continue to feed it more data, new data. The reality of any organization is that as you use a technology and a tool like this, that your performance patterns will start to emerge, and you'll start getting really good at understanding what gets the best results. And that data then can be refed into ensuring that, simulations run a certain way. The types of simulations you create are more focused on the areas that really make the biggest difference. And even the way that you start employing, right? You start creating simulations, and as part of the employment process, you already know what a great performer looks like because you've seen them go through simulations. You've seen them now perform in the real world. So now we can match it. It starts becoming a formula, right? The playbook right back at the beginning says, well, we now know the kind of person, if they score this way in the employment process as we're recruiting, they're more likely to be a high performer within the X number of months or whatever that time frame is. And I think that's the exciting part of longer usage and gaining that data with using a technology and tool like this.
It almost sounds like you can predict future performance.
I think you will be able to. I think there will always be outliers, but I do believe that in particular, when you're trying, the hardest thing with sales is normally you've got these high charisma or very, very talented small select group, and they're impossible to hire enough of them. They're really hard to find. And the key is to how do you get this middle group to be high performers? And once you figure that out, that starts becoming much more of a formula than anything that you've probably done before. And I was inspired by Mark Robig's book, one of the founders of HubSpot, Sales Acceleration Formula. Brilliant book if anyone hasn't read that. And I think that really closely aligns to what we're doing.
Final question. What is your greatest customer success story that's really unique?
Well, I'll have to say, because this is so new right now, I would say even my own company now, because this was the reason I even built the product. So right now, because that was a major pain point for me, I have clear visibility across my team. So I can see who is actually responding to the right objections in the right way. Interesting thing about digital humans, you get all sorts of interesting objections, right? That you don't even think about. Everything from why do you guys have more female digital humans than male digital humans? The ethics of AI in areas. There's a lot of objections that I like to be closer to because there is a difference in how you answer those questions. You can even end up offending, say, a female CMO if you answer that question wrong. So all these things were really important to us. And so for me, we've totally transformed our sales team, and we're actually getting much, much better results across our business now. So that would be my favorite right now. And yeah, we're getting customers on this new platform, and we'll have more stories to tell soon.
Well, I think the analogy I would use is it's like a gym for the mind, where you prepare salespeople in a way that where General Suvorov, the famous Russian general, said, train hard and fight easy.
I like it.
Well, thank you, Danny. And I will publish a link below where you can sign up for the free webinar with Danny on May 7th at 1 p.m. Thank you.
Nice one. Thank you.